This is KGW News at noon.
Welcome to the News at Noon. I'm Drew Carney, and we're going to get right to some of this afternoon's local headlines, starting with a former FedEx delivery driver who's been sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for exposing himself to children. We first told you about Alejandro Negrete when he was arrested last July in Aloha. He was accused of offering a 9-year-old girl candy while she was sitting on her front steps and then exposing himself. Negrete later admitted to sexually abusing other children in the area while he was on the job, and he pleaded guilty in court. Next headline this afternoon is the latest on Oregon's primary election. Administrative Judge Vadim Mazursky conceded the race for Portland City Council, so that means incumbent Joanne Hardesty will now face businessman Rene Gonzalez in a runoff election this coming November. And our last headline here comes from the Oregon Zoo. The zoo is hosting what they're calling Zoo Nights every other Friday from mid-June through mid-August. The zoo will stay open after normal hours with live entertainment, music, and food trucks on site. The first of these Zoo Nights is set for June 17th. You can buy tickets online and find more information at oregonzoo.org/events. And that's a look at some of today's local headlines. Rod Hill, let's talk about a weather headline on this Tuesday.
I thought you said Zoo Lights, and I was thinking that time already, but no,
Zoo Nights, Zoo Lights. Maybe I said Zoo Lights, but I definitely meant nights, Rod.
Kind of a quiet weather day out there. The clouds have been filling in across the area like we thought they would. So this is the visible satellite picture. And for the most part, it's overcast. Now the cloud deck probably gets a little thicker and a little thicker throughout the afternoon into this evening. There's still a chance that we could have a little spritz of some traceable amounts of rain in some areas. The one spot that's still south of the cloud cover is down here in Newport. So there's the sunshine from our camera in Uquina Bay. The camera at Stoller Family Vineyards Estate in Dayton, this was a beautiful sunny start, but now that's overcast. 58 degrees is the temperature there. And downtown Portland's been this way pretty much since the get-go. We are up to 62 despite the cloud cover. So the remainder of your day, northwest winds will generally be on the light side. Maybe we get up to 70 in a few spots. We'll forecast 68 for the Rose City, then 65 for you at 8 o'clock. Next shot of likely rain coming in is the latter part of Thursday, and we'll get into Memorial Day weekend coming up.
All right, Rod, we look forward to that in a few minutes. Right now, though, we do want to get back to some of our local headlines this afternoon. Less than 2 hours ago, closing arguments ended in the murder trial of Nancy Crampton Brophy, and the jury is now deliberating. The romance novelist is accused of shooting her husband, Daniel, back in June of 2018. During closing arguments yesterday, prosecutors focused on the couple's financial struggles as a motive for the murder. The deputy DA also pointed to surveillance video the morning of the murder that shows Nancy Crampton Brophy's van driving by the Oregon Culinary Institute, which is where Daniel was shot and killed. Crampton Brophy claims she was at home writing that day.
The person who went in there also was not just lucky. A random attack that just happened to be at the exact same time that Nancy Brophy was at the Culinary Institute. The exact same time and using the exact same weapon, same make and model and caliber that Nancy Brophy happened to own.
Well, under oath, Nancy Crampton Brophy did admit to driving by the crime scene, but she denied killing her husband. Her defense maintains that Daniel and Nancy were in love and that she simply could not have committed this murder.
The bottom line is that Nancy Brophy was far better off, far better off with Dan Brophy in her life. Even if you look at it just in pure economic terms, even if you ignore the love, even if you ignore all of those intangibles that couldn't go into that calculation, she was better off with Dan alive.
The judge in this case says once the jury comes to a verdict, he'll give about a 30-minute cushion before it's announced. We'll keep you updated both on the air and online at KGW.com. A Multnomah County judge sided with Metro and rejected a ballot initiative that would change how local governments pay for homeless services. The lobbying group People for Portland introduced the ballot proposal back in March, and it required that most of the money set aside by voters to address homelessness go to emergency shelters. Well, Metro rejected that ballot measure last month, saying it didn't do a good job of spelling out this plan. People for Portland appealed. But then yesterday, the judge sided with Metro, ruling that this initiative cannot be on the November ballot because it violates the state's constitution. We know the issues surrounding homelessness in the Northwest are one of the many reasons that KGW put together this brand new documentary called One Day. We aired it last Thursday right here on TV, and you can watch it anytime online. Our stream of journalists captured more than a dozen stories over the course of a single day that really shows the scope and the impact of Portland's homeless crisis. Again, you can watch One Day right now through the KGW YouTube channel. All right, let's talk about one of Portland's busiest and most dangerous streets for a moment because it's getting a facelift. We're talking about Southeast Division just east of 82nd Avenue. The goal of this work is to make the road safer because this has been one of Portland's deadliest areas for drivers and pedestrians for at least 15 years. PBOT has already installed pedestrian crossing beacons, better street lighting, and a center median, but not everyone is satisfied with these improvements because some people we talk to say these changes have actually made certain parts of the road even more difficult to navigate.
They've cobbled up the intersection. I mean, you can't get out here to go east on Division, and you can't make a U-turn up there because all the concrete they've got set up.
PBOT says that design was actually done on purpose.
We're bringing order to the street by making it clear where you can turn left, where you can make a U-turn, and where you cannot, where you're going to have to maybe go right for a block and then turn left and potentially make a U-turn to get to your destination.
Here's the bottom line. It's a $13 million project. It includes installing fixed speed safety cameras on Division Street, and there's also plans to add more of those speed safety cameras to other high crash areas like Sandy Boulevard and Columbia Boulevard. Monkeypox has been making national headlines all week as more and more suspected cases are reported throughout the country. So let's talk for a moment about what it is exactly. Monkeypox is a rare but potentially serious viral illness usually found in West and Central Africa. Common symptoms include fever, aches, and rashes all over the body. The CDC says monkeypox likely spreads between humans through large respiratory droplets that only travel up to a few feet, requiring prolonged face-to-face contact. But it can also spread through bodily fluids, lesions, and contaminated materials like clothes or bedding. Health officials do have ways to fight the disease. Right now, there are 2 vaccines available. One is specifically for monkeypox, and the other is an older vaccine for smallpox. So far, the CDC has confirmed 1 case in Massachusetts, and there are suspected cases in New York, Florida, Utah, and in Washington. All right, let's talk about that suspected monkeypox case in Washington. We know the person lives in King County, and he's now recovering at home. This person had been traveling internationally and reported his symptoms to local health officials. The virus, we know, can affect anyone, but unlike COVID, it is rare. As we just mentioned a moment ago, it's transmitted through close physical contact with an infected person. Monkeypox is not an STD, but health officials say many of the cases do appear to have been spread during sexual contact.
I would not be surprised to see additional cases of monkeypox. I don't think that poses anywhere near the threat that COVID-19 poses to us. I don't think we'll see the levels of transmission. I think it will ultimately be brought under control. But as we've learned with COVID-19, you can't always predict what's going to happen in the future. That's just my best guess.
Monkeypox starts with conditions including a fever, headache, chills, and swollen lymph nodes. And then, after a few days, you develop a rash. Most people are able to recover in 2 to 4 weeks.